Tonight, we're diving into one of the most untouchable chapters in Islamic history. A scandal so raw, so politically dangerous, that most Muslims today won't even whisper about it. The Prophet Muhammad's own wife, accused of adultery. And here's the twist. I'm not here to whitewash it, to play the misunderstood card, or to tell you nothing happened. We're going to actually ask, what if the accusers were right? What if the Quran itself leaves more questions than answers? Before we jump in, smash that like button if you think truth should never be off limits, and let me know in the comments. Should religious figures be above scrutiny?
A quick summary today, we're refuting this video from Cross-Examine Truth, titled Muhammad's Wife, Aisha, Adultery Case. Yeah, they couldn't even spell adultery right in the title. This 6-minute hit piece twists the famous al-ifk, slander, incident from Sahih Bukhari and the Quran into some shady cover-up conspiracy. But we're going point by point with exact timestamps from their video, using the actual Quran, authentic hadith, and basic logic. Buckle up, truth doesn't need clickbait. Smash like if you're tired of bad faith gotcha videos. Untouchable? Bro, every Muslim kid learns this story in school as the textbook example of why slander is evil and how to assume the best of people. It's in Surah and Nur for 1,400 years, not hidden in some vault. Religious figures aren't above scrutiny. Prophets are humans who receive divine guidance, and the Quran itself calls out the accusers and even rebukes the believers who fell for the rumors. This isn't untouchable. It's transparent history that teaches justice. But sure, keep acting like you discovered some forbidden scroll while the rest of us were napping. Peak conspiracy YouTuber energy.
If this was your spouse, would you accept a month-long delay before God cleared their name? Or would that silence sound like confirmation? Picture it.
Would you accept divine timing instead of knee-jerk Twitter cancellation? As a prophet, Muhammad waited for revelation from Allah, the ultimate court. The hadith shows he was deeply distressed, investigated by consulting companions. Usama bin Zayd defended Aisha. Ali suggested checking further, and publicly said he only knew good of his household. The month also overlapped with Aisha being gravely ill from the stress. Quran later says in 2400 hours 11, "Do not think this is bad for you. Rather, it is good for you. It established eternal laws against slander. Your silence equals guilt logic is what middle school detectives use. Real scrutiny includes context, not fanfiction."
Arabia, a convoy of dust and camels, heat shimmering off the sand like God's own frying pan. The Prophet's army is on the move, and Aisha, young, beautiful, and notoriously spirited, is traveling with them. One night she leaves the caravan to relieve herself, their words, not mine. When she returns, oops, the army has moved on without her, left alone in the wilderness. Hours later, she's rescued by a man named Safwan, a handsome young companion who leads her back to the camp in broad daylight. In modern terms, your wife shows up the next morning in an Uber, driven by her ex. If nothing happened, why didn't she travel back with other women in the camp? Why only with Safwan and alone?
Lost necklace equals desert hookup? This is fanfiction level. Straight from Aisha's own narration in Sahih Bukhari. She was in her howdah, camel litter. The army thought she was still inside. She was young and light. They left. She waited at the old campsite. Safwan bin al-Mu'addal, the rear guard of the entire army, found her asleep, recognized her from before veiling rules, said only inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, made the camel kneel without any conversation or touching. She veiled herself, and he walked in front, leading the camel back to camp at noon when everyone was resting. Public. Zero privacy. 0 words exchanged. Uber with ex? Safwan was a known pious companion, not her ex. You turned a lost necklace into a scandal because reasons. Next you'll say the camel winked.
Now the Arabian rumor mill was faster than Twitter. Word spreads. Did you see Aisha? Safwan? Alone? The gossip spreads from tent to tent, and before long, it's in Muhammad's ear. But here's the part that blows my mind. The prophet doesn't immediately defend her. He keeps quiet, awkwardly quiet, for days, weeks. A full month passes. Imagine this. Your spouse is accused of sleeping around, and instead of saying that's ridiculous, you just wait for a revelation. If Muhammad knew she was innocent, why did he let the accusation fester for so long? Could it be he had doubts?
Doubts? The hadith shows he was consulting people and defending her character publicly while awaiting guidance. Exactly what a prophet does. Rumors were started by hypocrites, Abdullah ibn Ubay and crew, trying to hurt the Ummah. Aisha herself narrates he came, greeted politely, and asked about her health. This wasn't awkward silence, it was patience under trial. If he doubted, why did the Quran later praise the believers who assumed good and condemn the liars? He must have known psychology. 101 ignores that prophets rely on Allah, not vibes. Classic move. Project modern doubt on a 7th century Arabia.
Finally, after a month of whispers and side eyes, Muhammad gets a revelation. Surah An-Nur, verses 11 to 20. These verses condemn the accusers. But notice something strange. They don't actually describe what happened that night. No details. No angel showing up to say, she's innocent because X, Y, Z. Instead, we get vague instructions about needing 4 witnesses to prove zina, adultery. Translation, you can't prove it, so drop it. That's not the same as it didn't happen. If God wanted to end this scandal, why wouldn't the Quran just say, Aisha did not commit adultery?
Ladies and gentlemen, he skipped the actual verses. Quran 2400 hours 11. Indeed, those who came with the falsehood, ifk, are a group among you. Verse 12. Why did the believing men and women, when you heard it, not think good of one another and say, this is an obvious falsehood? It literally calls the whole thing a clear lie multiple times, defends Aisha's honor, rebukes the community, and sets the punishment. The 4-witness rule is the general law for zina accusations, a high bar to protect innocence from exactly this kind of rumor mill. It wasn't vague loophole. It was divine justice that punished the slanderers with 80 lashes each. Reading the Quran, but missing the part where it says, obvious falsehood. That's not cross-examining truth. That's speed reading with conspiracy goggles on.
Let's talk politics. Aisha wasn't just any wife. She was the daughter of Abu Bakr, Muhammad's closest friend and future caliph. Clearing her name wasn't just about personal honor. It was about keeping the political alliance intact. Think about it. If Aisha was guilty, the scandal could wreck Muhammad's authority, fracture the early Muslim community, and undermine.
It was all politics conspiracy. If this was a power play, why would the Quran openly criticize the believers, including potentially Abu Bakr's circle, for falling for rumors? Why expose the hypocrites and make the whole Ummah learn a lesson that strengthened unity? The revelation actually helped Abu Bakr forgive the slanderers after initially cutting off support, divine command. History shows the early Muslims faced constant trials. Divine guidance isn't convenient PR, it's guidance. Your cynicism is showing. You assume everything religious is a scam because modern politics? Weak.
Abu Bakr's rise to power. That's not just a family problem. That's a national crisis. So was the revelation from God or a convenient political tool? How many times in history have leaders used religion to shield themselves from scandal? Here's another kicker. The Quran's requirement of 4 witnesses to prove adultery. Who can produce 4 eyewitnesses to an act that usually happens in private? That's not a law. That's an impossible standard. It's like saying, sure, you can prove your neighbor robbed you, but only if 4 people saw it happen, live, in HD. In practice, this meant no one could ever convict Aisha, guilty or not. If a law makes proving guilt impossible, is it justice or protection for the powerful? During the month-long silence, Aisha says Muhammad became distant. He didn't visit her much, didn't comfort her, didn't defend her publicly. That's not the reaction of a man certain of his wife's innocence. That's the reaction of a man weighing his options. If Muhammad's own behavior suggests doubt, why should we be more certain than he was? Aisha herself admits she cried for days, couldn't sleep, and felt abandoned. She claims she knew God would clear her, but if she was truly innocent, why did she fear so deeply? Psychology 101. Guilty people fear being exposed. Innocent people are angry, not terrified. Was her distress the cry of an innocent or the panic of someone caught? After the revelation, the accusers were punished, not for lying, but for failing to produce 4 witnesses. That's a technicality, not proof of innocence. And here's what's really telling. The story never gets mentioned again in the Quran, not once. For such a massive scandal, that silence speaks volumes. If God wanted everyone to know she was innocent, why not repeat it for emphasis, like he does with other key moral lessons? If the Quran's clearance was really just a legal loophole, that raises the ultimate question. How many other divine verdicts in Islamic history were politically motivated? Once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. If religion can be used to protect the guilty, what does that say about its claim to absolute morality? So,
High standard for a serious crime that carries severe punishment is justice, not protection for the elite. It protects everyone from false accusations, especially women. The accusers were punished for kadhf, slander, 80 lashes each. Muhammad wasn't distant out of doubt. He was humanly pained while awaiting revelation. Aisha's tears, normal for an innocent teenager slandered publicly by the entire community. Innocent people feel betrayed and scared too, not just guilty panic. Psychology 101 for conspiracy channels. Confirmation bias. The verses aren't technicality. They're explicit exoneration that became eternal law. And the story isn't never mentioned again. It's in the Quran forever. You can't unsee the pattern? Yeah, the pattern of you ignoring the text.
was Aisha guilty? We can't prove it beyond all doubt. But the circumstances, the delay, the vague verses, the political stakes, the impossible witness rule, paint a picture far more suspicious than the sanitized version most Muslims hear. In the end, you decide. But remember, truth doesn't get less true just because it's uncomfortable.
We can't prove guilt because the Quran and Hadith prove innocence, explicitly. The only suspicious thing is how you took honest sources that admit the pain and doubt of humans, then twisted the divine clearance in a cover-up. This video isn't uncomfortable truth. It's recycled Orientalist doubt with YouTube thumbnails. The Alifk incident actually proves Islam's transparency. It records the slander, the distress, the investigation, and the divine verdict that protected the innocent and punished liars forever. Lessons? Assume good. Verify before spreading. High bar for accusations. If this cross-examined truth channel actually cared about truth, they'd title it How the Quran Destroyed Slander in One Revelation. Drop your thoughts below. Was this a fair debunk or what? Like, subscribe, and share if you want real scrutiny, not conspiracy clicks. Assalamu alaikum.